President Donald Trump could see up to 6 cabinet officials depart in the weeks after next month's midterm elections, according to interviews with a half-dozen current and former Trump officials and Republicans close to the White House. For a president who has already shed or shuffled up 8 cabinet officials, that would make for the highest turnover rate in recent history. Story continued below. It would also be a major disruption even by the standards of an ever-churning administration, possibly creating new confusion across departments and agencies and risking multiple bloody Senate confirmation fights. The list includes United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley, who announced last month that she will depart by the end of the year, with no replacement in line. Trump is widely expected to oust Attorney General Jeff Sessions, whom he has criticized for months. Others who appear most likely to depart, according to administration sources and White House advisors, include Defense Secretary James Mattis, Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke, Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross and Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, a close ally to Chief of Staff John Kelly. Trump allies said that, in choosing replacements, the president will have a particular focus on how they might benefit him politically. The president is looking to get better performers. All of these decisions are being made in the context of the re-election campaign, said one Republican close to the White House. Trump wants the strongest possible A-team going into 2020. By signing up, you agree to receive email newsletters or alerts from Politico. You can unsubscribe at any time. A White House spokesman declined to comment, saying the administration was focused on the midterms. The 2-year mark of any administration offers a natural break in which cabinet officials depart. The incentive to leave would grow if Democrats win control of the House, giving them control of oversight committees, and the power to drag top Trump officials to Capitol Hill for televised grillings. But the Trump cabinet has already been unusually beset during its 21 months in office by high turnover, cabinet officials sparring with White House staff, and ethical questions arising from the conduct of its officials. The casualties so far include one Secretary of State, an EPA administrator, an HHS secretary, a Secretary of Veterans Affairs, and one Chief of Staff. Two of Trump's early cabinet secretaries, CIA Director Mike Pompeo and former DHS Secretary John Kelly, also shifted jobs internally, with Pompeo becoming Secretary of State and Kelly taking over as White House Chief of Staff. In many cases, the exits unfolded in spectacular and all-too-public fashion. Former Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, for instance, was fired by presidential tweet on a random Tuesday after months of clashing with son-in-law and top White House advisor, Jared Kushner, and amid plummeting morale at this agency. Shortly after his forced departure, former Veterans Affairs Chief David Shulkin aired his grievances in a New York Times op-ed, writing that his former department had become entangled in a brutal power struggle with some political appointees choosing to promote their agendas instead of what's best for veterans. Haley is the rare official to leave on her own terms, with a fawning Oval Office sent-off from the president, in exchange for her public declaration that she'd campaign for him in 2020. Many officials expect that Sessions, whom Trump has openly criticized for months, could be the first to go and may be fired by tweet. Trump has complained bitterly about Sessions' decision to recuse himself from the Justice Department's Russia investigation, which the president blames for the sprawling probe of special counsel Robert Mueller. Underscoring the likelihood of a Sessions exit is the fact that the White House has a new name in the mix for his replacement, Rep. John Ratcliffe of RTX, a former U.S. attorney and member of the House Judiciary Committee, according to one Republican close to the White House. Mattis is expected to leave on his own accord, according to two Republicans close to the White House, a possibility Trump foreshadowed when he sought to distance himself from the general during a 60 Minutes interview by referring to Mattis publicly as a Democrat, a diss in the Trump playbook. "I mean, at some point, everybody leaves. Everybody. People leave. That's Washington," Trump said during the interview when asked specifically about Mattis. Zinke is expected to move agencies, or leave the administration altogether, thanks to his grander political ambitions or the numerous ethical investigations that have dogged his tenure at Interior. Questions have swirled among White House staff for months about whether Trump will finally get rid of Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, whose negotiating skills on trade deals Trump has belittled, calling Ross past his prime and not a killer during Oval Office meetings. Aides wonder if Trump will finally act on finding himself a new Commerce Secretary after months of gripping. And Trump is constantly frustrated with his Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen for her inability to control the number of immigrants attempting to cross the U.S. border. If John Kelly leaves at some point as Chief of Staff, Nielsen, as his closest ally, is expected to follow. In his first 2 years, the Trump cabinet has been far greater turnover than Presidents Clinton, George W. Bush, and Obama over the same time period, according to a cabinet tracker done by the Brookings Institution. Getting people vetted and confirmed is no easy thing, even if the Republicans keep their majority in the Senate, said Chris Lu, the former White House cabinet secretary during President Obama's first term. It could be well into 2019 before the president has a full cabinet that is up to speed and carrying out his agenda. White House staff has felt exasperated over the past 2 years by a cabinet that has felt uncontrollable. While cabinet officials are always quick to offer pledges of loyalty to Trump during in-person meetings in the cabinet room, some Trump aides have complained that some of those same officials show little interest in traveling to promote the president's legislative and political agenda. Nor have cabinet officials always accepted the help or advice of the White House communications and press team to prep for contentious hearings, or media interviews. The goal for 2020 is to ensure that the cabinet is a political asset, not a source of embarrassing headlines. White House staffers had to offer numerous sessions on ethics rules for cabinet officials, particularly in the wake of episodes like Price's taxpayer-funded travel on private planes, which led to his ouster, and controversy over HUD Secretary Ben Carson's purchase of expensive office furniture. "We wanted to reaffirm the importance of appearances," said one former senior administration official, with regard to cabinet officials using private security teams or even flying first class. Kelly has often acted as the enforcer in private conversations with cabinet members including Pruitt, Zinke, Carson and Energy Secretary Rick Perry. Since those conversations with Kelly, both Carson and Perry have managed to avoid negative headlines, and Trump now largely ignores their departments as a result, said current and former administration officials. "A lot of his problem children are gone and that is a relief," said one former senior administration official. Despite the chaos and turnover to date, Republicans close to the White House feel confident that cabinet jobs retain a powerful alert for members of Congress, business leaders and Republican donors. Still, it could be hard for Trump to attract top talent, especially given the reputational damage suffered by numerous officials who have churned through his administration. Some job candidates may also be wary of the Senate confirmation process, especially if Democrats see their numbers grow and are feeling emboldened after Election Day. But if the administration's goal is a kind of malign neglect of most agencies that ultimately shrinks the size of the federal workforce, then landing top-flight cabinet officials may not be necessary, said Lu of the Obama administration. Agencies tend to have a much smaller role in Republican administrations. They are rolling back regulations but not really doing new rules. A lot of the programs can run on autopilot with the career staff, Lu added. Jump to sidebar section.